This is going to be some additional information about Lab 1 for Monday's lab section, so you don't fall behind. All labs are going to be under lab assignments, and Lab 1 will be available for you guys on Monday during the lab time. That's what you'll find this video, so if you're watching this video, you've probably already been here. Also, you'll find the original lab guide, and this is outlining how to remotely access the Linux computers at the school. As well as the lab PDF. So you're going to, if you click here, you get access to the PDF itself, the instructions for the lab. And then if you click on the assignment, this is where you can submit your whatever for the lab. So in today's lab, for example, it's going to be a screenshot of your code running, and that's detailed at the end of this video. In addition to this material, I'm also going to give a walkthrough on how to do the lab alternatively. So in the other lab sections, I gave an option where you can either follow this lab guide, or set GCC up on your own computer. So you can choose either or. There are guides. I have guides on the main course page. So these are the two course pages you should have in my courses. You should have two, one for your lab and then one for the main page. If you go back to the main page under programming resources and then installing GCC, there will be two PDF guides on how to get GCC on Windows and how to get it on Mac. So you have three options on how to complete this lab. The goal of this lab is just so you can get access to GCC and compile C source code. That's the whole goal. So as long as you're able to do that, then however you can get that done is fine. So that's kind of, there's three different ways to complete this. One is you can either do the remote Linux labs or to get this for your respective computers. Okay, I'm going to go through a walkthrough on setting up some of the folder structure and the file structure on Windows, because I'm on Windows. A lot of people are running into confusion during the labs on how to, because again, the video is kind of mostly, like probably half of it is remoting into the Linux labs, and then the other half is actually doing the code portion. So to avoid confusion, I'm going to give some more information on how to do the coding portion and that kind of thing on if you're on your own computer. It's obviously not going to be exactly the same if you're a Mac user, because I'm on Windows, but it should be pretty similar. And if you're familiar enough with your own computer, then you shouldn't have a hard time doing it. Some more details for this lab specifically. I know at the end of this video, I do mention what you're going to be submitting. In this case, it's just a screenshot of your running code, and I'll go over that again at the end of this video. But normally, I'd also require you to check off with me in this case, because the goal is just to get GCC working. We can skip, I allowed all the other labs to skip checking off. There was some initial confusion with, kind of getting familiar with Zoom and that kind of thing. So the first week, no need to check off. The point is that this lab, you 100% need GCC for this class. So if you don't get it during this lab, you won't be able to continue the class. So it's critical that you get this working as soon as you can. And that's the whole goal of this lab. So if that's done, then great. Okay, so I'm going to go through setting up the folder structure and the code portion. If you can, I kind of encourage you to watch the last half of this video. Up to about 6:30 is explaining how to remote into the lab computers, as well as the assignment PDF also gives some details on how to remote into the lab computer. So if you are not going this route, you do not need to read this PDF. If you are not remoting into the Linux computers, you do not need PuTTY or the VPN. If you are, then you can follow the lab PDF. But if you're going on your own computer, you should start at these guides. and then I'll go over what to do next right now. Again, if you're going from your own computer, I would also recommend, following along with me here, as well as, maybe 6.5 minutes, just in case I miss anything here. Okay, so assuming I already have GCC on my computer, so if I open a command prompt and type GCC, or this would be your terminal on Mac, I type in GCC, it tells me GCC fatal error, no input files. Now this is the final step in those guides. So if you're getting this, you've succeeded with installing GCC, and now you can actually just do the lab real quick. So what you're going to do for your lab is you're going to make a CIS190 folder. You're going to make a labs folder, a homeworks folder too, and then for this lab, you're going to make a lab 1 folder. And I've already done that here. So inside your lab folder, I'm not going to make it here because I have some garbage in there. So inside your lab 1 folder, you can just make a new text document. And something really important to note here. See how I have the extension, the file extension. It says .txt. That's really critical because if I change the name of this to .c, we can see that it's actually changing the file type, and that's what this warning is about. It's saying it's going to change the file type, and I want to hit yes. So I want to be able to change that txt file to a .c file. By default, Windows is going to hide the extension for known file types. A really easy way to fix that is you go to your search bar and just type in extensions. There we go. And then we're looking for show or hide file extensions. You can click on that and it's going to open the folder options. And then you want to make sure this is unchecked. It says hide extensions for known file types. And you want to make sure it's unchecked. And then you can hit OK. And as soon as you hit OK, it should give you the file extensions for, your .txt files. If you don't do that and you try to rename this as .c, it will actually rename it as .c.txt because that extension will be hidden and it will not be a C file. So you won't be able to compile it. Obviously that's a Windows solution. To do it on Mac, there is a way. I think it's actually even easier than on Windows. Unfortunately, you just have to look it up. Okay, so once I have my new C folder, I can rename it as lab1.c. I can open it up, and then I'm going to type in the C code for this lab. So this is some standard C code. This is just going to be a hello world program. Again, I go over a little more details about this program in the other video, so I do implore you to encourage you to watch that as well. There's my code all zoomed in. Just copy that into your own. Then what you're going to do once you have the code, it's saved. Oh, one more thing before I forget. So you can see how my text editor has syntax highlighting. If you're working on your own computer, strongly suggest to get your own text editor. I'm using Sublime Text 3. That's Sublime Text 3. Another good option is Notepad++. I think you can get either of these for Windows or Mac. Just pick something that you want to use. And that way you'll get syntax highlighting. For this, it doesn't matter too much. Like some people in my other labs used just plain old Notepad, and that's fine. But if you're gonna move on, I would say a decent text editor is almost as important as the compiler. Okay, so once I've gotten my C code all written up and saved, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up my CMD, and we can see the directory that my CMD is currently in. Same with the terminal. It's going to look very similar for the Mac terminal. So what I need to do is I need to navigate the command prompt to this folder. So we can see that the folder that contains my C file is in E, desktop, school, yada, yada, yada. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the CD command. Again, this is all explained in the Linux video. That's part of the lab. So for more details, watch that one. Because it's in a different drive for me, I'm going to type E:. That's a Windows thing. I'm not sure what it is on Mac to change drives. And then I'm going to type in the path all the way to the folder that's containing my C code. C labs, there we go. So now my command prompt is in the same folder as this C folder. Another thing you can do is if you do properties, you can find the location there and copy paste. Or I thought I also saw people do click and drag. You can also do that and then just delete the .c part at the end. So once my command prompt is in the same location, on Windows, if I type dir, it'll tell me a list of all directories, and we can see I have, there it is, there's my lab1.c. On Mac, it's ls. On Linux, it's ls. I go into details in the other video. Now I can use gcc lab1.c, hit enter. We can see I have a new program here. It's a new executable. It's called a.exe. This is the default name. If I want to give the executable a name, I would do -o and then whatever name I want. So I'll call it main. And we see it makes a new executable called main. And then on Windows to run that, I would just type in main. And we can see there's my program running, hello world. On Mac, you do /main. I recommend you name your executables. It makes things a little easier. Okay, so now to actually submit this, I'm gonna just take a screenshot. On Windows, you can use the snipping tool. Screenshot of my program running, and then I would upload this screenshot to my courses. And that would be it. So if you guys have any additional questions, I do have office hours. They should be posted on, I believe it's in the syllabus, or feel free to just shoot me a quick email. You can include screenshots of what's going on or anything like that.